Hello everyone, welcome to today's session. So today we are going to continue our topic. We are going to discuss more on the professional ethics, and we will discuss what has been also discussed in the previous session by way of examples and questions. Okay, and then we will take up the further new topics with respect to professional ethics. Okay, so before I proceed, I would like to understand if anyone has any doubt. So if you have any doubt for whatever we have discussed till date, I would urge you to ask the doubt. That is really important. So please ask it. Okay. If not, then we will proceed. Okay. No doubts, not an issue. We will proceed. If no doubts, then I would like to ask few questions. Okay, as a kind of revision, you can say, and then we will proceed ahead. Okay. So the question that is, can anyone tell me about clause 4 of part 1 of second schedule? Can anyone tell me about clause 4 part 1 second schedule?
Sir, it talks about expression of his opinion on the financial statement of any business and in which his firm has a substantial interest.
Yep. Okay. Very good. Very good. Anyone else with anything further to add to this? No? Okay. Then in that case, yes, it's absolutely correct. It's about the substantial interest where you express your opinion if you are substantially interested. Okay. And expressing opinion on the financial statement. Great. Can anyone tell me about clause 1, part 1 of second schedule? Clause 1, part 1 of second schedule.
So, disclosure of the confidential information obtained during the professional engagement, other than the consent from the client or when required by the law.
Yes, disclosure of confidential information. Very good. Absolutely correct. So disclosure of confidential information and exceptions are there. That's absolutely correct. Anyone would like to add to this further? Very good, Priya. Yes. Very good, Lavanya. Yes, very good, Geet. Okay. Now let's go to a revision for the first schedule. Quick revision. Okay. Can anyone tell me clause 5, part 1, first schedule? Clause 5.
So
I know, Samanathan ji, you will have the answer. That is for sure.
secure a business through the other than the employee or the partner of the firm.
Okay, good. Okay. Anything further to add? I think there are 2 to 3 more things which can be added to this.
Yes, sir.
Neha, very good. Anyone to add further?
When there is a tender, if it is specifically given for chartered accountant, then the minimum fee should be there. Or if the tender is there, then if it is given for all the professional employee, then he can participate on that.
Isn't the tender one into clause 6, not clause 5? Tender is part of the clause 6.
Okay, sir. Yeah, I think part of class 6 only. Yeah.
Yes, yes, Geet, very good. So, see, when I talk about clause 5, yes, it is about securing professional work through the means which are not open to a CA. We have discussed that employee partner are perfectly fine in that, but we have also discussed that what is allowed by the clause 2, 3, and 4 is also allowed by clause 5. So if there is a partnership or accept and paying arrangement under regulation 53A1, 53A3, regulation 53B under clause 2, 3, 4, that will be fine for clause 5. So if something is permissible by 2, 3, 4, it will be permissible by clause 5. Clear? Okay.
Sir,
Now,
sir,
yes.
as advised to by you on the last class, I gone through the code of ethics. That so you asked me specifically the assignment, given assignment to me, what is or what is A. Sir,
Yeah.
or is talk about the requirement, the mandatory cases
Yes.
that is mandatory to be followed by the service and the professional accountant also.
Correct.
They given the three section of that 100 to 200 like that 300
Hmm.
to 600 like that they given the separate subsection. A means it is an application how it is applied and guidance is given for A. A means is a application.
Yes, absolutely correct. Very good. So yes, so the R is a requirement, A is an application in that. Okay, and there are other things which are explanatory material to that particular requirement part, and the
Uh,
subsections and subsections are there.
Yes, sir. And also, is interestingly, I have seen whatever we are discussing in the schedule one and schedule two, whatever the professional ethics, they have given the FAQ also. It's a detailed thing. There
Yes.
are so many lot of question and answers there. So I am seeing, I am wondering, so many questions asked from the exam pattern. It is there only. I could see lot of things are there.
Because your code of ethics contains a lot of practical scenarios, like practically what has happened. Okay, and in exam also you get the practical scenarios. So there are high chances and of having a correlation or similar things over there, because both are based practically.
Yeah, yeah. First of all, thank you for your guidance. Because of you
Mhm.
only, I can able to go there and see. And I studied. I spent around 2 to 3 hours time there. But it's worth for reading that. It's really
Thank you.
amazing.
Thank you.
I learned even the chartered accountant who is in practice can simultaneously do the advocate services also. But provided that when he is doing the advocate service, he should not do the practice of the CA. But
Yeah.
simultaneously, but whenever he is doing the CA service, that time he should not do the advocate service. But both are allowed. Like this, there are new insight I learned from there actually, sir. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for your guidance on that.
No issues. No issues. Thank you. That is my objective only. Okay. Okay, then. So let's proceed. Before I, go on to and jump onto the next clause, I would like to take some practical questions so that we can have further understanding of how to apply these clauses that we now remember into a practical scenario base. Okay. So once we will learn that through practical questions, we will be able to answer things in with much more clarity. Okay. So let's see some questions. CA Samir was a statutory auditor of Zenith Technologies Private Limited for financial year 23-24. During the course of audit, he has a serious disagreement with the management over the capitalization of certain revenue expenditures, which would have materially misstated the company's profit. CA Samir informed the management that he would have to issue a qualified opinion if the financial statement were not corrected. Consequently, at the annual general meeting, the management did not propose the reappointment of CA Samir and instead passed a resolution to appoint CA Ravi, a young practitioner, as a new statutory auditor. Eager to build his practice, CA Ravi formally accepted the appointment immediately upon receiving the company's letter of appointment and filed the ADT1 with the registrar of the companies. A week later, he remembered his professional obligation and sent a letter by ordinary post to Samir, informing him of his appointment and seeking his cooperation. CA Samir, upon receiving the letter, was aggrieved by the fact that the CA Ravi has already accepted the position without communicating with first him. He filed the complaint with the institute against CA Ravi for the professional misconduct. Analyze the action of CA Ravi with reference to CA Act and schedules thereto. Does the fact that the previous auditor has a disagreement with the management have any bearing on your conclusion? So this is a question. I would recommend have a minute, read it again, and then try to answer. Take a minute, read the question, and then try to answer. Okay, now tell me what is the answer? What do you think? Come on.
So, section, the clause 8 of the part 1 of the first schedule to the CI to attract Mr. Ravi, he's accepted the appointment immediately upon receiving the company's letter of appointment and filed the ADT of the register. A week later only he remembered, and he seeking his cooperation. Okay, in this case, definitely he is guilty, sir. Before accepting the audit engagement, he should communicate with the previously held by the professional chartered accountant.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else with something to add further? Anyone? No? So which clause do you say will be attracted over here? Okay, Kushi, very good. Which clause do you say will be attracted over here? Come on, guys. Like which clause of which part of which schedule will be attracted over here? Okay, Lavanya, very good. Okay, Priya, very good. Okay. Anyone else with any other answer? No? Okay. So, what is clause 8, part 1, first schedule? Quickly, a quick summary. What is clause 8, part 1, first schedule? Clause 8, part 1, first schedule.
A chartered accountant in practice is held guilty of professional misconduct if he accepts a position as an auditor without first communicating it to the previous auditor.
Very good, Lavanya. Very good. Yes. Okay. Now, what is the requirement of clause 9? What is the requirement of clause 9? Again, part 1 of first schedule.
Yeah, accept the
As per clause,
appointment.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
as
please.
per clause 9, he is held.
Yeah, please go ahead, Lavanya. I am giving the chance to you. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. As per clause 9, he is held guilty if he accepts appointment as an auditor in case of a company. It applies specifically in case of a company, and even he has to check clauses of Companies Act, that is from section 139 to 141.
Okay. So, do you think clause 9 will be attracted over here?
Yes.
So, do you guys think the clause 9 will be attracted in this particular scenario?
Moreover, he is appointed as an auditor other than the retiring auditor.
Yeah. See, now clause 9 talks about compliance with 139, 140, 141. Clause 9 does not talk about with respect to the communication with previous auditor. ADT1 has been filed. Okay, ADT1 has been filed, and here the dates are not given when the ADT1 was filed. So we will assume that it was filed appropriately. All the notices and everything was given appropriately. So clause 9 will not get attracted in this particular scenario. Okay, because
Sir,
we don't. Yeah.
sir, ADT1 within 15 days, right?
Yes. But
Right,
here,
sir.
like, we don't have the dates and everything available in the question, so we will assume that ADT1 has been filed with respect to the given time frame. Okay, and as a result, we will say clause 9 will not get attracted. Only clause 8 will get attracted because he has not communicated within the time frame. Okay. Now, the second thing is the second question. Does the fact that the previous auditor had a disagreement with the management have any bearing on your conclusion? So, the previous auditor was having a disagreement. Do you think it will change the fact that clause 8 will not be applicable? Anyone?
But whenever there is a material misstatement is there, the auditor he has to give the qualified opinion only. It's the modified opinion only. But the management are asking the auditor to issue the which means that the qualified opinion. Which
Yes.
means, yeah, in this case, the limitation is given by the management is not appropriate. In that case, the auditor is eligible to withdraw from the engagement. That is for sure. After consultation with those charged with governance, that point is there. But
Okay.
even though in this particular case, Mr. Ravi has accepted without considering that fact, is also is tantamount to is a guilty. It's not appropriate because the limitation is issued. The ethical matter is not right with the client.
Yes. Okay. So, see, when we talk about clause 8, okay, when we talk about clause 8, we talk about that when we can still go ahead after communicating. See, clause 8 talks about, okay, you communicate, and when you get a response, you evaluate the response. Having a disagreement does not mean that you should not communicate. There are two different things: communication, understanding the disagreement, and then proceeding. But here, just because he was having a disagreement, you should not communicate. That is never conveyed by clause 8. So clause 8 specifically says that if I have to put into the timeline frame, like, okay, what clause 8 says in a timeline frame, just give me a minute, sorry. Yeah. So if I highlight this particular point, which is that certain revenue expenditures, okay, so capitalization of certain revenue expenditure. Now this was the part of the discussion here, like it was about the misstatement. Now first it has to communicate, then the disagreement will be there, and according to this disagreement, basically a particular action is required to be taken, whether to accept or not. Okay, like this is how it should go based on this. So this is the part of disagreement which will go over here. But this is after communication. Here, the communication was not done. So having a disagreement will not make a difference, just because, it is supposed to be evaluated after the communication. Okay. Yes, very good, Sandeep. Yes, very good, Geet. So this is something after the communication, not before. So the point that there was a disagreement will not have any impact on the particular scenario. Clear? Any doubt? Any doubt? Any question? Yes, no, no? Okay. I assume no questions. Everything is clear. Okay. Now we will see the answer, how to write the answer in this particular scenario. See, when you write the answer, first you have to specify the clause itself. Like, what is the clause? The part, the schedule to the CA Act, specify the clause. Okay, give the analysis of that particular clause, whatever analysis. So, whatever analysis is there with respect to the case, give the analysis of the case over here, and then you provide the conclusion. Is guilty or not guilty? Okay, so this is how you should write the answer. Plus, like, when you write your answer, you need to consider, the length of your answer also. That means, let's say it's a 4 marks. Okay, it should not be the case that you are writing a essay going on, going on, going on, going on, going on, which is never getting completed, and you invested your 1 hour in completing this one question. So with time, you need to understand how much to write, what to write. When I say, let's say it's a 4 or 5 marks, specify the clause itself. That is a 1 point. Okay. Then specify if there is anything further to the clause which is there in the question. For example, this one, this point here. Okay. You specify this. Then you give the analysis. Then you give the conclusion, and then you write one line about this. This is a disagreement one. Okay. Accordingly, it will be 4 to 5 like marks answer. For example, over here, if you see, the disagreement between the previous auditor and the management further underscores the significance of lapse of professional duty. Like, it does not have any impact over here because it has been explained. But the way you need to see that, okay, you need to explain that particular point in your answer in a separate way, in a separate line, because it is asked in a separate question. Clear? Any doubt? No? Okay. If no doubts, then let's go through one more question. Okay. So the question is, CA Priya is the statutory auditor of Health Bridge Pharma Limited, a listed company. During the audit of financial year 24-25, she discovered a systematic fraud orchestrated by the company's managing director. The fraud involved inflating sales figure through fictitious transaction with the shell entities, resulting in an overstatement of revenue by approximately 5 crores. After gathering sufficient appropriate audit evidence, CA Priya concluded that the fraud has been committed against the company by an officer. In accordance with the provision laid down in the 143(12) of the Companies Act, she reported the matter to the company's audit committee. Upon not receiving any reply or observation from the committee within the stipulated time, she proceeded to report the matter to the Secretary, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, by submitting EDT 4. The board of directors, upon becoming aware of her report to MCA, was furious. They sent a legal notice to CA Priya, accusing her of the breach of fundamental principles of professional confidentiality by disclosing sensitive internal matters to the external government authorities without board consent. The notice stated that they are intended to file a complaint of professional misconduct against her with the institute, analyze the situation, and advise CA Priya whether her action of reporting the fraud to the MCA constitute a professional misconduct under the CA Acts in its schedule. So take a minute, read the question again, and then try to answer. So tell me, what do you think? Is it a professional misconduct?
No, sir.
Whether no?
No. The thing is that when there is a fraud, upon identification, the auditor should communicate those charged with governance within two working days. Upon that, they can wait for another 45 days to comment upon. If they are not commenting anything, the auditor responsibility to report this matter to the MCA. So when there is a amount is more than 1 crore. Here the amount involved is 5 crore. The auditor is responsibility to report to the central government. That is a right way of action. So she is not uh, found any misconduct on this part, sir. This is what I believe.
Okay. Very good. Absolutely correct. Yes. Very good. Pitambar, very good. Okay, very good, Geet. Yes. Very good, Sandeep. So, which clause, let's say basically, what was the clause? If it was supposed to be attracted, then which was the clause? In answer, which clause you will write?
It will attract class number 6 on part 1, second schedule, and class 7 also will attract. Class 8 also will come, I believe.
When you will write the answer.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anyone else? Like which clause you will write when you will write the answer? Very good, Geet. Absolutely correct. Yes, very good, Pitambar. So the clause that I will write will be clause 1, part 1, second schedule. That is a breach of confidentiality 1. Disclosing the information without the consent of the client. Here, it is required by law. That's why I am disclosing the information. Here they are saying in a question also it is given fundamental principle of professional confidentiality. It's a breach of the professional confidentiality, but we will say no, there is not a breach. There is no breach because clause 1 itself allows when it is required by the law. Section 143 subsection 12 says that you have to report if the amount is more than 1 CR. So it is permissible, allowed by law. So this is under clause 1, part 1, second schedule. Clear? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
Great. Yeah. Now, let me change a few things in this question and then we will discuss again. So that will, give us a good clarity. Let's say, for example, now here in question, you have that, okay, the fraud involved in inflating sales figure through fictitious transactions with the shell entities, resulting in overestimation of revenue by approximately 5 CR. Now, here I will write to we will change few words in this particular line, resulting in overstatement of revenue by approximately, or instead of revenue word, I will remove this revenue word. Okay, and let me zoom in for you guys. Estimated revenue. Instead of revenue, now I'm writing estimated revenue. Okay, by 5 CR, approximately 5 CR. And now I will add one more line, which is over here. After reporting to, you can say MCA, management hired forensic accountant to uh, identify the amount of fraud as per forensic accountant's report, actual fraud was of rupees 75 lakhs. Okay. Now, understand what I have done here is, first, I changed the term revenue to the estimated revenue. So when she identified the fraud, the estimated impact of that particular fraud was 5 CR. Later on, management hired a forensic accountant to identify the amount of fraud. Forensic accountant identified the actual amount of fraud as a 75 lakh rupees. Now they are accusing CAPEA for breach of fundamental principles. You tell me, is it a breach of fundamental principles with the changed fact? First, it was an estimated revenue. It was an estimate that there is a fraud of 5 CR. And actual amount later on only came to 75 lakhs.
Sir, auditor has a reason to believe that offense of fraud involving amount of 1 CR must be there. Based on the estimation, the auditor should not give the report to MCA government. He should be sure that the commitment is amount 1 crore or more. However, they identify it is involved 75 lakhs only. In this case, the auditor should not report to the central government.
Okay. Okay. So is it a breach of fundamental principle?
Yes, sir. It's a breach of fundamental principle if CA Priya is given the report to central government. The amount involvement also is 75 lakhs. Based on the estimation, he should not go about it.
Okay. Anyone else with a different answer? Okay, Geet, very good. Okay, very good, Geet. Anyone else with any different answer? No? Okay. Now, so to understand this particular scenario and to understand whether it is a breach or not. Okay, so basically, either half of you are saying it's a breach of fundamental principle because she did not identify the exact amount of fraud first and she reported where it was not supposed to be reported. Okay, and the second set is some are saying still not for a breach of a fundamental principle. So I have a two set of answers. And to understand this, we have to go and we have to see section 143 subsection 12. Section 143 subsection 12. And that is a very interesting part over there to understand basically whether it will be still counted as a breach of fundamental principles of confidentiality or not. Okay. So you have a section 143 subsection 12 on your screen. And this is from the act itself. Section 143 subsection 12 says that notwithstanding anything contained in this section, if an auditor of a company is in the course of performances of duties as an auditor, has a reason to believe that an offense of fraud involving such amount or amount as may be prescribed is being or has been committed in the company. Now the important part is has a reason to believe this particular part. Plus, if you go to the as may be prescribed, okay, So it will give you like what is the amount. So here it says that again in the rule 13 itself, that has a reason to believe that an offense of fraud which involves or is expected to involves or expected to involve. Now these two terms specify that if an auditor has a reason to believe an estimated amount of fraud which is more than 1 CR is conducted. Okay, more than 1 CR, not actual, it is estimated. 1 CR or above, expected. In that case, still it is his responsibility to report. The actual amount may come a different amount. That is perfectly fine. In our particular scenario that we were discussing that, okay, there is an estimated revenue by approximately 5 CR. The actual amount came less, but still it is an expected to involve. If the auditor had a reason to believe that this is the amount, she has to report. So in that case, it is required by law, still required by law. It will not change the answer. There is no breach of fundamental principle of confidentiality.
Okay, thanks, sir. It's good to know that rules, it's expected also is there. It's
Yeah.
now it's clarified for the details. Sir, and also in that case, she can report to the central government, but the chance is given to the company. If they are able to reply within the 45 days, then it's very well. If it is a less than 75 lakhs, in that case, the auditor will not report to central government. In this case, it is clearly saying that after reporting to MCA, management only hired a forensic accounting. In
Yes.
that case, they identified later it's a 75. That's not a matter for him. But
No,
yeah,
but in that case also there is a time limit. Like
time,
she has
yeah,
to, yeah. If management replies back, and if
15 days.
management says the amount is less than 1 CR, and if they are able to provide the details, then it's a different story. But if the auditor is not satisfied, see, in section 143.12, it is not necessary that management says something or management's amount. It is the important part is what auditor believes. If a auditor still, after reply of the management, if the auditor still has a reason to believe that the amount involved is more than 1 CR, he has to report, or he can report rather.
Okay, see, in this case, the after reporting, but before reporting also, if the management replies 75 lakhs, in that case, the auditor is the reason to believe that the amount is more than 1 crore with the evidence, still he can go ahead and report. That is what you're coming to say, sir?
Yes, yes. If he has a reason to believe the amount is more than 1 CR, even after management's comment, he has to report. That is the law, and he can go and still report.
Okay, fine, sir. Based on your wordings here, but it is not breach. But I assumed on that the estimated value should not be considered. Now it's very clear that estimated revenue also should be considered. Fine,
Plus,
sir.
there is another provision under the Companies Act, that is 143.13. 143.12 talks about reporting, but 143.13 is a savior. Like, no duty to which an auditor of a company may be subject to shall be regarded as having been contravened. Like, if he is the duty, like, what is the duty? Duty of confidentiality, duty of protecting the information, duty of doing audit. So whatever duty has been assigned to that auditor of the company, okay, shall be regarded having been not having been contravened by the reason reporting the matter under subsection 12, if it is done in good faith. So if you do report fraud in good faith, it will not be counted that there is a contravention of any of your duty. That is the section 13 or clause subsection 13 of section 143. 143.13 talks about protection in case if the reporting is done in good faith. So again, when you will write the answer, if you are aware about this particular section 143.13, if you remember, you can quote it, you can write it, very good, not an issue. But if you don't, still you have to specify the respective clause. Okay, You have to specify the respective clause, and accordingly you need to provide your answer. So you need to specify the required clause, then you need to specify the required section, and then you need to answer. Okay. Basically it is kind of, you need to specify what is the provision, the way we have discussed, like you provide the provision, you provide the section, what is the section requirement, you do the analysis. Okay. And then you give the conclusion, whether she is guilty or not guilty. Clear? Any doubt?
Clear, sir. Very much clear.
Okay. So let's go through this question and understand this one also. One more question. CA Vikram is a proprietor of Vikram and Associates, a reputed firm of chartered accountants. His firm was selected for a mandatory peer review under the framework established by the Institute of Chartered Accountants India. The peer reviewer CA Divya, during her review, chose to scrutinize the audit file of Stellar Motors Limited, one of the CA Vikram's largest and most sensitive clients. The file contained detailed working papers, including notes on the company's future expansion plan and other confidential business information provided to CA Vikram during the audit. CA Vikram, believing to be his professional obligation, provided complete access to the audit file to CA Divya. Later, a director of Stellar Motors found about their confidential file had been reviewed by another chartered accountant without their explicit permission. The director sent a strongly worded letter to CA Vikram accusing him of serious breach of confidentiality, threatening him to sue for the damages and file a complaint for the professional misconduct with the ICAI. Analyze the contention of the management of Stellar Motors, advise CA Vikram whether his actions of providing the client audit file to peer reviewer constitute a professional misconduct under CAX and its schedule. Read the question for a minute and then try to answer. Okay. So I hope you guys are ready with the answer. So what is the answer? Anyone answer? What is the answer? Okay, very good, Sandeep.
No, sir, it's not a guilty, sir. That Vikram can share that to Divya for the peer review auditors.
Okay.
It's not a breach of confidentiality. Eh,
Okay. Anyone else with anything further to add?
Yeah, class 1 of the part 1 second schedule does not attract on this case.
Anyone else with anything different to add or any further to add over this? Very good, Sandeep. Very good. Okay. Now, see, first of all, what is required by law? That is, we need to understand over here. Okay. Now, what is required by law? When I say it is required by law, under which law do you think, the chartered accountant is required to disclose the information to the peer reviewer? Anyone? Under which law, like, it is required to disclose the information to the peer reviewer? Okay, Pitambar, very good. Anyone else? Anyone? Under which law you are required to disclose information to the peer reviewer? Simple.
It's ICAI, sir. Peer review board is set up by the ICAI. So peer review is conducted through the recommendation of the ICAI.
Okay.
So CA Act is applicable over here.
Okay. CA Act is applicable. Perfectly fine. See, now, basically, if you see, there are two things that I want to talk about over here. One is your code of ethics again. Okay. Code of ethics. If you go to code of ethics, it specifically talks about that what is confidentiality and when you are required to disclose. Okay. If you go and read the code of ethics, it says that to comply with a technical professional standards. Okay. If you have to disclose, you will disclose. Second, there is a requirement that if to comply with the requirement of the peer review, quality review, if you have to disclose, you will disclose. Okay. In that case, if the subsection 114 confidentiality, if you go through that, it itself says that like what is required by law is when you have to disclose for the purpose of peer review. Code of ethics itself says that in the fundamental principle. So based on that, you can say it is allowed by the law because it itself is there in the fundamental principle. Now, second, when I say it is there in the fundamental principle, when you disclose, there is no issue in that. There is no issue in that. If it has been disclosed, it is perfectly fine. As a result, there is no violation of any of the provision. And again, when I have to write the answer, there are two ways to write the answer. Two ways. One, the most common way will be to write an answer for this particular one is that you mention clause 1, part 1, second schedule. Okay, confidentiality 1. You specify that the details, whatever the details are, okay, whether you are required to disclose, you are not required to disclose, you will specify that clause. You will specify subsection 114, okay, which is allowed, and then you will conclude your answer. That is a normal common way of writing the answer. There is another approach. There is one more clause you can specify over here along with that. Very good, Geet. There is one more clause which you can specify over here in the answer. Apart from clause 1, part 1, second schedule, there is something more you can specify.
Sir, in this case, the Schedule 1, Part 3, Clause 2 does not supply information when the requirement by institute, council, all these things. Suppose if the CA Vikram, if not provided the information to that peer review auditor, CA Divya, in that case, the CA Vikram will be guilty if not providing the information.
Yes. So over there, if you do not provide the information, absolutely correct. Clause 2 will be applicable of part 3 of first schedule that you are not providing the required information. Okay, you are not providing the required information. Over there, you can be held guilty of professional misconduct. So you can also specify clause 2, part 3 of first schedule. Are you getting the point? But again, over there, is it like the board, the peer review board has been specifically mentioned, or the peer reviewer has been specifically mentioned? No. But we can assume, because like it says that institute, council, or any of its committees. So accordingly, we can assume that the peer review board is also part of that. So
But
by
there
that
is a
way,
quality review board is specifically mentioned it, sir.
yes, quality review board is specifically mentioned, but peer review board is not specifically mentioned. But institute is there, which is required to be submitted to the institute. Now, institute will encompass all its bodies, even the peer review board. So by that way, like we can understand that peer review board is also part of that, and accordingly you can write the answer. I hope I'm clear. Any doubt? So this is how you can answer this particular question. Pretty much straightforward, nothing difficult, no complexity is involved. Any doubt? No? Okay, great. Now, if no further doubts, then I would like to discuss one few things over here. Why we have a quality review board specifically specified over there? Why we have quality review board and not the peer review board specifically specified in the particular clause description? The only reason we could see is because the quality review board is board which is not as per the council or not as per the code of ethics. Like it is based on the act itself. So section 28A of the Chartered Accountants Act talks about the establishment of a quality review board. That's why you can see a separate name of the quality review board, not of the peer review board. But peer review board is also, you can assume that it is part of that. Okay. Now, coming to the part where we left last time, we will continue with that. So we discussed till clause 9 of part 1 of second schedule. Now we will start with the clause 10. Can anyone tell me what is clause 10 of part 1 of second schedule? Clause 10.
Sir, it's a fail to keep the client money other than the fees or money to be expensed in the separate bank account or use such money the intended purpose within the reasonable time.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Yes. Yes. Very good, Geet. Very good, Priya. Absolutely correct. Where you fail to keep money of the client in a separate bank account or fail to use that for within the reasonable time frame. Okay. So let's go and understand with respect to the what is given in the actual clause. So if you see the actual clause which talks about clause 10 is that if you fail to keep the money of his client, of your client, now this is the part, other than the fees or remuneration or money meant to be expended in a separate bank account. Okay. Other than the fees, remuneration, or money meant to be expended in a separate bank account. You have to keep in separate bank account, then you will be held guilty of deemed to be held guilty of professional misconduct if you do not keep, or to use such money for the purposes which they are intended within the reasonable time frame. So you have to either use such money for the purpose for which they are intended within the reasonable time frame. Now, which money they are talking about? Money of the client. Money of the client or money meant to be expended. So if there is a money meant to be expended or there is a money of the client, you need to use such money for the purpose which they are intended with the reasonable time frame, if it is supposed to be expended or keep in a separate bank account. Okay. Now, with respect to that, there are two exceptions. The pure exceptions I will talk about is that one is your fees, one is your remuneration. Because money to be expended, you have to expend it or you have to use it for such purpose within the time frame. So if the money is being given to you, okay, utilize this, then you have to utilize for that purpose. You don't have, if you'll not utilize for that purpose, you will be deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct. Okay. So in that scenario, fees or remuneration is kind of an exception over here. If you receive fees or remuneration, that you can keep in your own bank account and the way you want. Clear? Any doubt? Nothing difficult over it, straightforward, no complexities. Now, the another question that can come in this particular clause is what is the reasonable time? The term reasonable time, within the reasonable time we are talking about. Okay. This term, what do you mean by reasonable time? So, this particular term has to be interpreted or understood. This term within the reasonable time frame has to be understood with respect to the purpose, like this purpose I'm talking about, the purpose for which it was provided. Okay. So you have to link the purpose with the reasonable time, like each circumstances, absolutely correct, Geet. So based on that, you need to understand what is a reasonable time frame. Clear? So there is no definitive, definition kind of thing available for reasonable time frame like 7 days, 2 working days, 10 working days. No, it has to be understood with respect to the purpose. It can be 1 day also, provided like the purpose is of such nature, okay, that it is required to be spent within that particular day itself, but depends upon the scenario, case to case basis.
So, for example, this August month, for August month TDS payment, the client is making the payment of rupees 1 crore. The TDS payment due will be the next month, the following month, 7th. Within the 7th, he has to apply it. If not paid within the 7th month of the September, then he has to put it into the separate account or return to the client.
Yes, absolutely. So either he has to use within that time frame. If not, then see, in that case you cannot say that okay, I did not use within that time frame and I'm keeping a separate bank account. It will not work. You have to use it within the time frame itself. If you are not using, you will be deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct, irrespective then you are keeping in a separate bank account or not. So if the money is given to you in a separate capacity, okay, fine, you use it after 2 months. Till that particular time, keep in a separate bank account. But after 2 months, you have to use it. You cannot say that okay, I'm keeping it, still keeping in a separate bank account, so I should not be held for guilty of deemed to be held guilty of professional misconduct. No. I hope I'm clear.
Yes, sir. The reasonable time, the case to case, it will differ.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Pretty straightforward, nothing difficult here. Now that concludes your part one of second schedule. Now we'll go to the part two of second schedule. Again, we have already discussed some portion of it, but we'll still discuss in detail. So, can anyone tell me what is clause one, part two, second schedule? Clause one, part two, second schedule.
The controversy any provisions of the CA Act and its regulation, any guidance issued by the council.
Absolutely correct. Yes. contravention of any act, regulation, or guidelines. You can call it contravention of ARG. Okay, that is act, regulation, guidelines, whatever it is. Accordingly, you will be also deemed to be held guilty of professional misconduct. Now, part 2 is applicable to member of institute generally. It is not applicable to only CA in practice. It's institute generally. Okay, we don't have a separate part over here for the member in service the way we have in first schedule. So clause 1 basically talks about if you contravene any of the provision of the act, regulations, provision of the act, regulations made thereunder, or any guidelines issued by the council, deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct. Okay, now the question comes is, are you required to read the every regulation, every guideline for this particular part? So there are certain regulations and guidelines already given. So these are some regulations given, okay, under which generally contraventions have been reported: 43, 46, 47, 48, 56, 65. Are you required to go and detail and read the regulation, all the regulations? In that case, see, whatever given in your study material, you have to restrict yourself to that. That is the only thing. Okay. Let's say, for example, regulation 190A, 191 is discussed in detail. 192 is also discussed. Restriction on fees. We will discuss. So these are certain which are already discussed. So plus 190 register of offices and firms, maintenance of branch office. So if they are related, somewhere something has been discussed, yes, you have to be aware of that. But if something is not discussed, it's not there in your study material, for that you are not required to worry about.
Yes, sir. The regulation 43 engaging the articled assistant.
Yeah.
We have the MTP question today. They asked from the institute. I've gone through that. The thing is that the chartered accountant used that article assistant for the purpose of the CA is contesting the election of the ICAI. He used for convocation all these things, and the auditor conveyed that when you are attending that canvassing, you will good to know the all the other prominent leader, and you will be well versed. But is there any guilty? They asked the question. But definitely it is a guilty as per this class 1.
See, in that case, article assistant, you are already familiar with all the requirements. Okay, you guys will be already expected to be familiar with that. So these are mentioned over here. So you may go with these particular regulations, go through them, read them to that particular extent. But apart from that, no need to go with respect to all the regulations as of now. Only the ones which are mentioned are the ones you have to go through. Okay. So that was clause 1. Nothing difficult, straightforward, no complex. We'll go to the clause 2. Clause 2 is related specifically to the employees. Now we have discussed this, that clause 2 talks about the breach of confidentiality, but with respect to the employee. Okay, so although we don't have a separate segment for member in service, we have a clause 2 which is applicable to member in service. So which says that being an employee of the company, firm, person, you disclose in confidential information. Okay, you disclose confidential information acquired in the course of employment, except when required by law or permitted by employer. So this is applicable to member in service because we are talking about employment. You can say by default applicable to member in service. Okay, and if you disclose any information except required by any law or time being in force required by any law, time being in force, or permitted by the employer, you will be deemed to be held guilty of professional misconduct. We have discussed breach of confidentiality multiple times. It's the same. No change in that. Straightforward, same. Okay. Third, clause 3. Remember, we discussed not providing the information. At that time only we discussed providing false information is covered by clause 3. Remember, we wrote the reference. If you go back to
Yes, sir. We discussed in the schedule 1 also, part 3,
yes,
class number 3, for
yes,
others.
correct. See, over here, I specifically asked you to write, does not supply information requirement asked for this one. Clause 2, we have already discussed. Plus, I asked you to write this one also, excluding institute in clause 3, because that is reference clause 3, part 2 of second schedule. Plus, when we wrote when we, were doing the handwritten notes, at that time also I specified no information is clause 2 part 3 first schedule, false information clause 3 part 2 second schedule. So we specifically provided these references everywhere. Okay. Similarly, we have discussed this before also, when we were discussing in the clause 3, that if you provide the false information, it will be covered in the second schedule. So this is the
Yes,
point for the second schedule.
I think we revised 4 to 3 times on this.
Yes. Sorry. Just let me go quickly down. Yeah. So that is the same clause that we are referring. You can, if you want, you can provide this reference again. If you want, you can provide this reference again to that particular part. Over here, so that it should be available somewhere for you to refer. Let's say I'll keep it down. So wherever you want, you can just have the reference this. This is very important for you to go through it. Okay. Just same way, I will provide a line. Okay, a reference so that you can read. Clear? Any doubt with respect to this one, clause 3? I think we are clear on this one. Any doubt? Okay. Now clause 4. Again, straightforward, pretty simple, nothing difficult over here. Clause 4 talks about if there was a fraud, like if you defalcates or embezzle the money received in the professional capacity. Okay, in that case, you will be deemed to be held guilty of professional misconduct. So that is the clause 4. Straightforward, nothing difficult, no complexities involved. Now here we are talking about professional capacity, which can be any professional capacity, not only auditor, any professional capacity. So if you want, you can highlight over here is any professional capacity. Like, can you tell me other professional capacities apart from being auditor?
Say example, a person A is some sort of content, but he is also qualified company secretary. But he has a profession, he choose to do the company secretary as part of his during his professional service done by that in the capacity of company secretary, he defaulted or embezzlement of money received. In that cases also, here as per the CA Act, this class 4 will attract.
Yes. But basically, when I talk about any professional capacity, I'm saying that it is beyond audit. For example, arbitrator, executor, liquidator, trustee, director, whatever professional capacity you have, everything will be covered. Let's say, for example, you are a director, independent director. Some money, you embezzled some money in that case. Professional capacity, you will be eligible, deemed to be held guilty. Trustee,
Yeah.
deemed to be held guilty. Liquidator, arbitrator, administrator, any professional capacity.
Whether he is in service or whether he is in employment
Yes,
or wherever.
correct. Because this is applicable to member in general. So it does not restrict to only practicing chartered accountant. Okay. That is your clause 4. Now, clause 5 we have discussed. What is clause 5?
Sir, clause 5 we discussed last time that any contravention as an auditor contravenes to the Companies Act.
Okay. Yes. Correct. Absolutely correct. So, very good, Geet. Yes. So, if you act as an auditor of a company in contravention of the provisions of the Companies Act, deemed to be held guilty of professional misconduct. Now, when I talk about contravention, that means that you are not complying with any of the provision as an auditor of the company. Okay. Not only appointment, the term acts means throughout the term of throughout the term of auditor. Okay. Throughout the term of auditor. Not only at appointment. Appointment is covered by
Clause number 9.
absolutely clause 9 part 1 first schedule. Over there appointment is already covered. I'm talking about till retirement. If you do anything which is in the contravention of the act, gone.
Sorry, even it will come the schedule 3 disclosures. Everything which Companies Act from section 1 to section,
Whatever are
yeah,
there, number of
whatever. I don't know what is
yeah.
the end section.
So basically there are, I think, more than 500 sections. But if you talk about the numbers stand at 470. Okay. So that is your clause 5. And then we have clause 1 in the part 3. Like the only thing which is in the part 3 is if you will be held guilty of deemed to be guilty of other misconduct, not professional misconduct. Deemed to be guilty of other misconduct, if guilty by any civil or criminal court, term exceeding 6 months, with an imprisonment term exceeding 6 months. Less than 6 months, covered in first schedule. More than 6 months, covered over here.
First schedule part 4, clause 1.
Yeah. Now, very important part that I'm going to discuss over here is the mechanism. Now, this is something, disciplinary mechanism, that is very important. Now, we are well versed with the clauses. We are well versed with the schedules. Can anyone tell me why we have 2 different schedules and why we have to, like professional misconduct, other misconduct? Why? What is the reason?
The punishment will be high on the second schedule, sir.
Okay. Anyone else?
Say second schedule, if any guilty, the punishment will be 5 lakhs, up to 5 lakhs. They will permanently remove that membership as well.
Okay. Yes. Very good.
In case of schedule 1, it's up to 1 lakh. That removal of that suspension up to 3 months.
Yes.
Yeah. A reprimand is there for both cases. They will call and they will warn the CA.
So, absolutely. Okay. Very good. Now, when I talk about different schedules, okay, when I talk about these parts and professional misconduct, other misconduct, Now, I would like to provide some more information on this. This particular, the term professional misconduct, the term other misconduct, where they are coming from, they are not only in the schedules itself. So these terms, when I talk about professional misconduct and other misconduct, they are not only in the schedules. Okay, they are part of the act also. They are
And
part of
the
the.
and these are part of the code of ethics also it is provided, sir, in detail.
Yes, code of ethics also, but if you see, there is a specific section under the CA Act. Okay, the CA Act section says that that is section 22 of the CA Act, that is professional and other misconduct. So that specified what is the professional or other misconduct. It says that professional or other misconduct shall be deemed to include any act, omission on part of any member of the institute, either in the individual capacity or as a partner or owner of the firm, as mentioned in any of the schedules. That's why you have the schedules. So section 22 gives that particular power to the schedules. Okay. Section 22 gives that particular power to the schedule. If I show you the particular part in the study material, if you see this particular part on page 19.41, this is nothing but your section 22. This is something, coming from section 22 of CA Act. This says that, okay, it is as mentioned in the schedules. Like other professional, other misconduct means something that is mentioned in the schedules. That's why we are going and learning the schedule. Okay, that's why we are going and learning the schedule. So that is something coming from section 22. Plus, there are other sections with respect to disciplinary mechanism. Okay, so these are section 21, 21A, B, C, 22A, 22G. When I talk about 21A, section 21A, it is nothing but your board of discipline. It provides the detail about the board of discipline. Section 21B provides the discipline about provide the details about disciplinary committee. Okay, then 21C provides the authority of the disciplinary committee, board of discipline, director discipline, and their powers. So you can say authority and powers. Then you have a 21D, but that's a transitional one. Okay, 22 we have discussed. Then comes the 22A, very important. That is a appellate authority, constitution of an appellate authority. If anyone is aggrieved by the order of the disciplinary committee, board of discipline, director discipline, then there is a appellate authority already. Then B, C, D, E, F, they all are with respect to this appellate authority. For example, B talks about term of the office of chairperson and member of authority. C talks about allowances. D talks about procedure. E talks about officer. F talks about resignation by the member of chairperson of this authority. But then again comes one important section, that is appeal, procedure for the appeal to authority. That is 22G. So these are some sections which are very important, and they specify, okay, about the disciplinary mechanism. And there is one more section I forgot to write, that is section 21 itself, which was the disciplinary directorate. So all these things are specified in the act itself. Okay, what they do, what is the procedure, all things are specified in these sections itself. Okay, now let us go through and understand the disciplinary mechanism bit. So how disciplinary mechanism work and how multiple these authorities come into picture. Okay, this is a very good chart, I would say important chart that you should go through. That is very important. Okay, when any complaint is made to the institute with a prescribed fee, okay, or information is submitted against a member for the alleged misconduct, first it goes to the disciplinary directorate. Over there he provides a prima facie opinion that whether he is guilty of professional or other misconduct or not. Okay, so when a disciplinary directorate receives this information, within 30 days he decides, he gives the prima facie opinion like whether he is guilty or not. Now in that case, if says he is guilty, prima facie opinion, if he says he is guilty, the member is guilty, then it will be decided whether the matter is falling within the first schedule or the matter is falling within the second schedule. If the matter is falling within the first schedule, the matter will be placed before the board of discipline for the further analysis, and board of discipline will conduct the analysis investigation. Okay, will have a power of the civil court. So act says that for the this board of discipline, disciplinary committee and director discipline will have the same powers as they are vested in the civil code under code of civil procedure. Now the name has been changed, but they can summon and enforce the attendance of the person. They can examine the person on oath. They can ask the person for the discovery and production of any documents. They can receive evidence on the affidavit. So all these things are under the power of the board of discipline, disciplinary committee or directorate discipline. Okay, let's say the matter is between the board of discipline. Now board of discipline will go through the matter and prima facie they will decide whether it is supposed to be conducted or inquiry supposed to be conducted or not. If let's say they say accept it, they accept like the matter and they accept basically what the prima facie opinion. So if they accept the prima facie opinion, okay, in that case they will conduct the inquiry. If found guilty, yes, then there are punishment we will discuss in a while, but if no, they will close the matter. And let's say for example, if they reject the prima facie opinion because of an XYZ ground, they will close the matter. So there is a two-step investigation kind of or understanding of the matter before a particular punishment is granted. One is by the disciplinary directorate, then by the board of discipline or the disciplinary committee. Let's say if the matter is falling under second schedule or under falling both, let's say if the matter is anyhow coming under second schedule, okay, either in the second schedule or first and second schedule both, the moment second schedule comes, disciplinary committee will come into picture. Same, they will evaluate whether to accept or reject the prima facie opinion. If they accept, they will conduct inquiry. Found guilty, then punishments. If they say not guilty, they are not satisfied with the prima facie opinion, they will close the matter. They will not conduct the inquiry. Okay. Now, what if the prima facie opinion itself says the person is not guilty or the member is not guilty? Then they have to provide all the information to the board of discipline. So they have to provide all the information to the board of discipline. That okay, this is the information that we received, and I feel that the disciplinary directors say that we feel that here the person is not guilty or the member is not guilty, and accordingly, board of discipline will evaluate what to do. If board of discipline is saying accepted means being not guilty. Remember that. When I say accepted, that is something being not guilty. This one. If it is accepted, then yes, the person is not guilty. Well, let me change the way it should appear. Not guilty. Yes, they will close the matter. Perfectly fine. We agree with the prima facie opinion of the disciplinary directive. Let's close the matter. What if they reject it? That means they find person guilty, member guilty. Here that means member is guilty. And when I talk about rejection, rejection is of the prima facie opinion. Okay, they reject the prima facie opinion. In that scenario, they will advise the director's discipline to investigate further, or they may proceed the matter if it is related to the first schedule, or they may refer the matter to the disciplinary committee if it is with reference to the second schedule. So whatever the outcome will be, accordingly they will be referring the matter. Clear? Any doubt?
Sir, I have one doubt. Is the disciplinary director and director discipline is one and the same, sir?
Disciplinary director and director discipline, yes. So disciplinary directorate, basically when I talk about disciplinary directorate, is a body which is consisting of director disciplines.
Okay. See, because on the first line, on the fees received, below that the disciplinary director is there. On the non guilty side, there is a director discipline is there.
Correct. The reason because disciplinary directorate is a body in itself, which is consisting of a one or more director discipline.
Okay, fine, sir. I think the fees is 2,500. I checked it, 2,500 plus GST, 18%.
Yeah. So that is the way the whole mechanism works. Disciplinary mechanism works. Now you have the penalties. If it is found under first schedule, it can be, reprimand the member, remove the name for the period up to 3 months, and impose a fine of 1 lakh rupees. If guilty under second schedule, reprimand the member, its name can be removed permanently, or for any duration they may think it is fit and appropriate, and fine up to 5 lakh rupees. Okay. So if it is the matter of the second schedule, the fines and everything is much higher. Now, if anyone is, kind of not happy with the order, they have 90 days to appeal. Remember, I was talking about appeal to the authority and appellate authority. They have 90 days to appeal, and based on the appeals further discussion, they can either confirm, modify, set aside. A lot of powers are there with respect to the appellate authority in that scenario.
Yes, sir. 22G.
Yeah. So any doubt with respect to the disciplinary mechanism, any doubt, very important.
So this chart is beautifully created, sir.
Yes, absolutely. Wonderful chart. And that's why I say our study material provided by the institute is well enough and sufficient. There is no need to refer to any other study material. Trust me.
Yes, sir. Agreed, sir.
Okay. Uh, any doubts? Any doubts? No? Okay. So what we do is we need to cover some more council general guidelines and a few more topics. Okay. So let's take a quick 10-minute break. After the break, we'll cover some guidelines part and some few more topics onto similar areas. Okay. Let's take a quick 10-minute break. let's continue the discussion. Okay, now we will take up some of the parts of the Council General Guidelines. Okay, these are very important parts, and basically they are divided into various chapters. Okay, so Council General Guidelines 2008, they were issued under Clause 1 of Part 2 of Second Schedule. Okay, basically there are multiple things which are required to be complied with. Okay, they are divided into chapters. Okay, and amended from time to time. Okay, so the first one is maintenance of books of accounts. So if there is a member in practice, okay, if there is a member in practice, or like he's in like if there is a partnership firm, CA firm, where he's a partner, he has to maintain certain books of accounts. Okay, so you can understand member of institute in practice, he has to maintain certain books of accounts. Now, which are these books of accounts? Basically, these are either a cash book or ledger. Okay, he is required to maintain proper books of accounts, including a cash book and a ledger. This is beyond the requirement of Section 44A of the Income Tax Act. So Section 44A of the Income Tax Act already provides what are the books you are required to maintain for the professionals. Okay, this is something you can say over and above that. If something is not overlapping, then you are required to maintain. Okay. Now, second is that I want to discuss is the tax audit assignment. I'm pretty much sure you guys have read about this particular chapter. Okay, this part. Okay. So can anyone tell me in summary what is the tax audit limit that is allocated to each partner?
Sir, it's a 60 assignments, sir, per auditor. If it is individual, 60 audit is there.
Yes,
Excluding that 44AD, the presumptive case 44AD, 44AE, that will be
yes,
excluded.
yes, absolutely correct. So see, now there is a limit to which you can take a specified number of tax audit assignment. Okay, so this limit excludes Section 44 AD audit, ADA or AE audits, basically. Okay, so this is not something which is required to be counted for this specified number of tax audit assignments. Now, what is this specified number of tax audit assignments? Like with the assignment that is there, like the number which is there is 60. And I will come to that on one particular part also, like one important thing also in this area. But as of now, it is 60 tax audit assignment in a financial year. In case of the proprietor firm, in case of a partnership firm, 60 per partner. Now see, 60 per partner. Okay. So we will take up one scenario, we will discuss something, and I will provide some more information on that particular area. Let's say there's a partnership firm, ABC and LLP. Okay, ABC LLP, not end. It has three partners. Like, is it CA firm? Here is Mr. A, CA in practice. Mr. B, CA in practice. Mr. C, CA in practice. Okay. Now let's assume, okay, they all have a 60 tax audits. They have that much client. So what they decided is Mr. A will sign 100 tax audit, Mr. B will sign, let's say, 40 tax audit. Sorry. Okay. And let's say Mr. C will sign 40 tax audit. Total goes to 180. Okay. So tell me with this is within the required limit or not?
Yes, sir. This is allowed, sir.
Okay. As of now, like based on the thing we are discussing, allowed, yes or no?
Yes, sir. It allowed. But I think last month the institute is
I'll
given
come
the
to that.
guidelines. Yeah, it is not allowed as per the recent announcement.
I'll come to that. I'll come to that. But as of now, allowed? Yes. Everyone agree with me? Yes. Okay. So perfectly fine, allowed. So total 160, like 60 into 3, it should not exceed more than 180. And this is excluding your 44 AD, ADEA, and AE. Yes. Very good. Okay.
Yes, sir. Even the single person also signed the entire 180 audit report.
Yes. However, they wanted to distribute, that was perfectly fine. They were allowed to distribute. That was there. So the distribution was allowed the way it was supposed to be, like the way you want to allow. Okay. Like for example, one partner can individually sign 600 tax audit report in case of 9 partners not signing any report. Perfectly fine. This was allowed. But now for your information, for your further information, with effect from, this is the announcement which has been there on 30th July 2025. Okay, 30th July 2025. And this is with effect from 1/4/2026. Council has agreed in its 42nd meeting held in 26 and 27 May, again on 23rd, 43rd meeting, that 60 tax audit aside per member is fine in a particular financial year. That is fine. But in other words, an individual member cannot sign more than 60 tax audits. So earlier, before 1/4/26, a member can sign, like the way we saw, 100 tax audits in example. That is fine. So in our scenario, this is perfectly fine, but only up to 31/3/2025 or 2026. Okay, because from, sorry, 31st March, not 30th June, 31st March. So this is from 1st April. So in our example, this was fine. 31st March, 31/3/2026. It is fine because from 1/4/26, this will not be allowed. Okay. So from 1/4/26, it will not be allowed. And from 1/4/26, what will be allowed is, that is only 60 tax audit per member. An individual member cannot sign more than 60 tax audit report in a financial year. Okay, so this will change. So till 31/3/2026, fine. Beyond that, changed. If you want, you can write that allowed till 31/3/2026, beyond which a member can sign maximum 60 tax audit report. Okay, so you can do very important. Remember that. Just for your information, this is the change that is going to come from 1/4/2026. Now the question comes is whether this is from 1/4/2026 that is applicable to tax audit that will be there. Like, is it a financial year that is 1/4/26 for which the tax audit will happen in 27?
Yes, sir, the limit is applicable on the financial year basis, which means that 1/4/2026 to 31st December 2026, those periods will be taken into account.
31st March, yes. So see, when we talk about per financial year, that means in the next year, whatever you will sign as a member, it should not be more than 60. Now it can be pertaining to any financial year. It is about signing within a financial year. So from 1/4/26 to 31/3/27, you cannot sign more than 60 tax audit reports. Okay.
No, sir, this is a per financial year, sir, which means it will come up to the first year 2026 to 31st March, that's by December 26. From
December,
then, the 1/4 to 27 to then 31st December 27, sir.
by December, financial year, April to
No, no.
March, not
Okay,
calendar
okay,
year.
okay, sir. Got it, got it. Yeah, financial days mean 1/4 right, sir? I confuse with the calendar year.
So, and it is about signing. Remember that this is about signing of the report. It does not say that of financial year. So that means, for example, if I sign a tax audit report of any financial year, I can only sign up to 60. Any which ways, you will not sign beyond that. But if, let's say, a hypothetical example, if you are signing, then it should be restricted to 60 only. Okay. So it is the signing number that you have to count in that financial year. And that is also specified that these changes shall be effective for the tax audit under 44 AB of the Income Tax Act from 1 April 2026. Okay.
So, what is the reason behind, sir, these changes?
Huh?
What is the reason behind, sir?
What is the reason? Like, yeah, this is something for more transparency, more understanding. Like, like, okay, it should, like, one particular chartered accountant should not sign more than 60 tax audit report. It should not be something which is unbalanced. Clear? Again, the rest of the things, like, in computing this, like, if you are doing head office and branch office audit, it will be counted as a one. Okay. So it will be counted as a one particular audit. It will not be counted multiple audits if you are doing branch audit or head office together. So all these things, rest of the things will remain same. There is no much further change, but the only change was this one, which is now per member 60. They cannot sign beyond that.
Okay, sir. I think it's for the control purpose. The as you said is bring down restricted.
Yep. Now, so these are the new charter accountants limit on tax audit, limit on number of tax audit guidelines 2025. Even they are notified. So if you go, it will be notified on 25th of July. It's the official notification is also there. Okay. So accordingly, all the things have been specified, and accordingly, this will work.
I think
Now,
for the statutory auditor also there is a limit is there, I believe.
I'll come to that on statutory audit part also. I'll come in a while. So this was a tax audit report one. Any doubt with this? Yes, 25, 26. So in 26, 27, whatever you will sign, it cannot go beyond 60. Any other doubt? And that is too in his total capacity. That means if a particular chartered accountant in practice, okay, if a particular chartered accountant in practice is accepting in individual capacity also and accepting as a partner of some firm, in total it should not exceed 60. So it should not be there, okay, individual 60, partner 60. No, total aggregate capacity of that particular chartered accountant is 60. And let's say, for example, I have two tax audits, like tax audit for 2 years together. I will take those both tax audits separately unless and until they, like, if there's a difference in year, then they will be counted different. Each financial year is required to be taken separately.
Okay, if the client ABC is there, tax audit for the financial year 24-25, it will be counted as one audit, and the earlier also it is counted as one audit.
Yes, because I'm signing two different tax audit reports for different financial years in a particular one financial year, so it will be counted too.
Okay, fine, sir. Noted.
Okay. Any doubt with this? Any doubt? Okay. If no doubt, then next point that I want to discuss is about appointment of auditor in case of non-payment of disputed fees, undisputed fees. See, if there was a non-payment of undisputed fees, would you accept as an appointment of the auditor? Would you accept the appointment of the auditor if there is a non-payment of undisputed fees? No? Yes or no? Clause 8, part 1, first schedule. While communicating, if you come to know there is a non-payment of undisputed fees, you will not proceed for the acceptance of the appointment. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
But now I will discuss one point, that is of the sick unit. Okay. In case of a sick unit, let's say usually you are not allowed. Usually you are not allowed. But this will not be applicable in case of a sick unit. So appointment of an auditor in case of non-payment of undisputed. Again, I'm talking about undisputed. Okay. So in case of undisputed, non-payment of undisputed fees, this particular criteria is not applicable. The prohibition is not applicable in case of a sick unit. Remember that. So you can say not applicable in case of sick unit. Now, what is sick unit? Okay. Sick unit's definition is given that sick unit means unit registered for not less than 5 years and it has accumulated losses equal to or exceeding its entire net worth. If that is the case, then it is a sick unit. So at the end of financial year, if it has accumulated losses and exceeding its entire net worth, okay, in that case it will be a sick unit. Plus registered for more than 5 years. Two conditions, and that is very important, two conditions. When I talk about sick unit, registered for greater than 5 years. Second, accumulated losses greater than net worth. So these two conditions satisfied, it will be a sick unit. And in that case, this particular prohibition that acceptance should not be given in case of non-payment of undisputed statutory fee will not apply. Any doubt? Any doubts? What if the undisputed fees is not paid for other than the statutory audit assignment, like tax audit, review engagement, and other assurance engagement? See, now, what is the requirement of the clause? That is very important to understand. Okay. Now, if you read the particular clause itself, okay, it says that undisputed audit fee. The term which is used, it is audit fee. Undisputed audit fees. So if it is the undisputed audit fees, now it can be stat audit, it can be tax audit, it can be, any audit. So you will not accept an appointment as an auditor. Now, let's say when we talk about auditor, it's not only Companies Act, it's, various type of auditors, which will be including where you are required to communicate. We have seen in clause 8. Now, let's say we are talking about tax auditor. If you are taking appointment as a tax auditor, you will communicate, from with the previous auditor. If previous auditor says my tax audit fees is not there, not being paid, which is undisputed, you will not accept the appointment. Now, coming to the review engagement, are you an auditor in a review engagement? Are you an auditor in an other assurance engagement? That's a very important part, because when we discuss about communication with the predecessor auditor. We are talking about auditor over there. So are you an auditor in the review engagement or other assurance engagement? That will define whether is it something the fees we need to consider and the communication we need to consider. I hope I have answered to your doubt, Pitambar. Okay, great. So now the next part that I want to discuss is the specified number of audit assignments for the statutory audit, not the tax audit, but the statutory audit. See, the amendment that I discussed right now was the tax audit specific. The guidelines that I discussed were the tax audit specific. Are there any guidelines with respect to what you can say for specified number of what you can say company audits? Answer is no. As of now, that is the one that I'm talking about. The thing we are discussing, the thing is there is an updated one. So if any other amendment will be there, we will definitely discuss that other amendment. But as of now, this is the one which is there. Okay. So what is the requirement of the statutory audits number? Okay. So in case of statutory audit, it is the 30 audit assignments as of now. Okay. It is there the specified number of audit assignments. Sorry. Specified number of audit assignment, chapter 8. Okay. Under of companies under section 141. So this specified number of audit assignments is 30 audit assignments. Now that is again 30 audit assignment per partner or per individual, which is there, the way it is there. Okay. Plus there is one more thing that we need to understand over here. That is again, we need to consider head office and branch office as a one. Okay. If there are multiple branches, then again that audit will be considered as a one. So it will not be considered as a different audit. It will be considered only one audit assignment. Okay. So it will not be regarded as two audit assignment if they are branch office and head office audits. So this is how it is required to be considered for 30 requirement, 30. Okay. Any doubt with this?
Sir, in section 141, the company side it is given the 20 audits, sir. But here the council is given the 30 audits. Which one will prevail, sir?
21, stricter one.
20 or 30, sir? Guidance is given 30, right?
So if the act provides more stricter one, then act will be applicable. If there is something which is there, like which, if the regulations or the guidelines are providing something stricter, then that will be applicable.
Like in exam, what we have to write, sir?
See, in that case, in exam, you need to write about based on the question. See, in that case, if the question is on the guidelines, you have to write 30. If the question is on the Act 141, you need to write which is there in the Act. So you need to answer based on the question what is asked. What if the question is only asked about the guidelines? It is not referring to the Act itself.
Suppose a chartered accountant has 30 or say 20, whatever is the limit, assignments in his hand on 1st April, and out of that 10 assignments he disposes, give the audit report, board meeting done, everything cleared, and he retires on the AGM by 30th June out of 10 out of that. So now he has 20 say in his hand. So can he accept for the same year another 10?
Okay. So you are saying that within that particular year, he completed his tenure. Now he is not being, part of that company, and then he is accepting more.
Suppose in the 10th AGM is done on by 30th June, which is always possible.
Yeah.
So now AGM completed, he has signed the report as a statutory auditor. He has retired from those 10. Now with respect to the same financial years, जो कि होता है normally, suppose other companies appoints him, so it will be crossing 30. If you take the total, suppose, will that be allowed?
Again, that is not allowed. See, again, these works in how much you sign in a financial year. Okay, that the limit here is how much you sign in a financial year. Now,
but
although you are
sorry to interrupt, but the word used is shall not hold at any time.
Yes, see, now here shall not hold at any time appointment for more than specified number of this one. Okay. The question comes is that how do you determine how much he holds at any point in time? If you say that, for example, that on a particular date he has been like not there as an auditor, he has completed the audit, and then he goes for an acceptance of the audit like other companies and other part, that is for the next year. So for example, let's say I have let's say in this particular financial year on June AGM happened, I'm done with this audit. Now new auditor has been appointed. Let's say another company appoints me, so they will appoint me for the subsequent year.
But sir, practically does happen sometimes ki, we do appoint, and I have seen the companies for previous years also. It does happen. It has happened कि for whatever casual vacancy हो गया, whatever reason के चलते हो गया, या auditor has resigned, whatever reason, appointment तो होता है, because and I have seen the appointment happening. So what will happen in that case? Because he is retired from 10 audits already, so 30 completed. Now can he accept 10 more?
Okay, in that case, if you are saying that it is for the same year, and like in that case, I need to count as the date of acceptance of the audit assignment. So point, if he's not there more than 30, fine. Provided it's the same year, you are saying the way you are saying, like exception scenario, perfectly fine.
Okay, sir.
So for this particular part, okay, for this particular scenario, I need to consider on the date, like on that particular date, that considering all the situations, everything, am I exceeding the limit? But generally, I think it's a rare scenario, very rare scenario, where for the 10 companies, they are appointing after the year the auditor. 10 companies, they are appointing after the year. And second thing I want to specify over here is that here in this particular 30 limit, you are not required to count 1% company and government companies. So that is something other than the 1% company or dormant companies. Clear? Any further doubts? No? Okay. So if no further doubts, then I need to discuss one more important point. Okay. That is with respect to UDIN part. I need to discuss one specific point, that is with respect to UDIN. See, we have discussed about the audits, we have discussed about multiple scenarios, but with respect to these audits, these attestation functions, there is one more requirement. That is the requirement of UDIN. So there are dates given, but for all the certificates with effect from 1st February 2019, for all GST tax audit report with effect from 1st April 2019, and for all other audit assurance and attest function from 1st July 19. Like as of today, if I talk about for all attest functions, you are required, like the CA in practice is required to generate UDIN. That is mandatory. For all the attest functions, you are required to generate UDIN. So that is necessary and that is must. So the date is there from the 19th, but as of today, it's like it is already gone. Okay, so accordingly, for all the attest functions, I'm not only talking about audit, I'm talking about attest functions, which will include all the assurance services, limited assurance, certificates, audit, everything will be covered by that. Okay. So all these things are, for all these things, you are now required to have UDIN mandatorily. Clear? Any doubt?
Sir, within how many days we need to generate the UDIN, sir? Is it?
So there are guidelines like how many days after you can generate, or how many days before you can generate. I think somewhere it's 15, if I'm not wrong. You get a 15 days time limit to generate, not beyond that. So after and before, both times are there. So that is something, I think it is 15, but I need to again check more once again for the how many days are allowed to generate. Any other doubts? Okay. Now, one important part, another part, that is with respect to appointment as a statutory auditor. In case of public sector, government companies, listed entities, listed companies. Okay. So having turnover more than 50 CR in a year. Okay. Now, over there, you should not, like the auditor, the CA in practice should not accept the appointment of the auditor, statutory auditor. Again, the statutory auditor, where the turnover of the government company, public sector undertaking, listed entity is more than 50 CR if he is accepting other work, other assignment apart from audit, which is permissible. Okay, subject to other things and other guidelines which we have discussed till now. If we accept any other work, assignment or service which is permissible, okay, of that particular undertaking, and the remuneration of that particular service that he is undertaking, additional service that he is undertaking, exceed the fee payable for the statutory audit, in that case, he should not accept that assignment. That means, where if you are getting other work and that other work has more fees than your statutory audit fees, then there are chances that it might be a threat to fundamental principles. In that case, you should not accept the appointment as a statutory auditor. So that is your chapter number chapter number 9, appointment of statutory auditor. Basically, where you need to not accept, you are not required to accept, or you shall not accept the appointment as a statutory auditor of PSU, government, listed, then other public under companies. Okay, so these are the companies which has turnover 50 CR or more in a year. So which are companies which are there? PSU, government company, listed, okay, and then other public company, okay, having turnover more than 50 CR. That is the condition, plus turnover more than 50 CR. And you should not accept when, if let's say for example, the fees of stat audit is less than fees of other assignments. Now these other assignments, again, other guidelines are applicable, should be permissible. Okay, so the remuneration, if the remuneration exceed the fee payable for carrying out the statutory audit, in that case, you should not accept. Clear? Any doubt with this? These are the additional conditions which are there in the Council General Guidelines.
Okay, this is not applicable for foreign company and the private limited company, right, sir?
No, this is for the government companies, PSU listed entities.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Now, in this particular scenario, always remember that other things will be applicable. So if something is not permissible by other law or regulation, that will come into place. It is not something that, okay, it is within the limit, I can accept any assignment. Answer is no. You have to consider the other laws and regulation. If it is not permissible, then it is not permissible. Let's say if there is no restriction, if there is nothing, a kind of a rule or regulation which is prohibiting you, you can accept the appointment, then the condition will come into play also. In that scenario, you need to check this condition. Okay. Then we have discussed about appointment of then we discussed about appointment of an auditor when he's in debt to a concern. So this is 1 lakh rupees of amount which is same in the which is there in the company sector also. Same provisions are also over there. Okay, so that is the one. Then direction in case of unjustified removal of auditors. Again, we have seen in clause 8, if there is an unjustified removal, you should not accept. Tender guideline, we have already seen, we have already discussed. UDIN, we discussed. Then I will take up a networking then. But before that, I would like to go to one more guideline to discuss. Logo guidelines, we have already discussed in depth in previously. So this logo guidelines is done. These colors, fonts, you cannot change everything. This is already discussed. Okay. Now, corporate form of practice is something I want to discuss. Very good guidelines, I would say. Okay. And very important to understand. Now, what is this corporate form of practice? See, we saw a particular section that companies not to engage in practice. Yes or no? You saw a particular section where companies not to engage in accountancy, section 25. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Correct. Now, what is this corporate form of practice? Let me explain you. Now, to render the management consultancy services, the council decided, okay, let's allow the member in practice to be the managing director or whole-time director of a body corporate, of a company, okay, who is exclusively providing management consultancy service. Management consultancy service, not the audit or other things. So there's a difference. When I say companies not to engage in the engage in accountancy, I am talking about companies not providing the service of audit, the other services. But if something is management consultancy service, they can provide subject to these guidelines. Okay, so section 25 bars a company to practice, or bars anyone to practice as a chartered accountant. The company should not practice as a chartered accountant. That means they should not provide any advice, any audit services in the form of company. But specifically for the management consultancy service, a guidelines has been formed where member who is in practice, again here I'm talking about member in practice, can hold the office of managing director. Can hold the office of managing director. Can anyone tell me whether this is allowed under regulation 190 or not? 190A. So what about regulation 190A? Can anyone tell me about that? Or we have discussed this particular part somewhere else also about the director.
Yes, independent director, solicitor directors.
Which was the clause?
Clause 11.
Okay. Okay.
Clause 11 of the part 1 of the schedule 1, sir.
Yes. Okay. I think there was something we also discussed under clause 7 of part 1 of first schedule. Yes or no? Clause 7 of part 1.
Yes, sir, on the advertisement part.
But what was clause 7?
Clause 1 is talking about advise the professional attainment or service using any other designation other than the CA.
Yes. Any other designation other than the chartered accountant. Okay. On the professional documents, or there were certain things. Plus, we discussed over there that director, like director simpliciter, he can be, okay, he can specify director simpliciter, but he cannot be a managing director or whole-time director. He should not be taking remuneration. Plus, the same we discussed in the clause 11 also. Yes or no? About receiving the full salary, about being an employment. Yes or no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Salary come full-time basis.
Correct. Correct. So that was not allowed. Full-time basis was not allowed. You need to take specific permission. But the council has decided, okay, to allow the members who are in practice to be managing director, whole-time director of a company. But that company should be exclusively rendering management consultancy service, which is there in under 224 of the CA Act, management consultancy service. Okay. Now, in that case, there is no restriction. They will be regarded as the members in full time. There is no something, restriction in that. They will be counted as a full-time practice only. They can do attest functions also. They can do attest functions also in their individual capacity or in proprietorship or partnership capacity. They cannot sign in the company because their section 25 is already there. You cannot sign in the company. You cannot issue audit report as a company, but you can do in your individual capacity. Okay, so you can do practice for the management consultancy service exclusively by opening up a company, okay, by being a managing director, whole-time director of that particular company. But again, when I say all these things, there are some restrictions, there are some requirements. That is, you need to first require to get an approval from the institute. It's not something you can go and start tomorrow a company. No. The name of the management consultancy service has to be required to be approved by the institute. Then you need to follow the guidelines for the registration, for the compliance, for all other things. There are detailed guidelines given. Then only you can do this management consultancy service. Then only you can provide this management consultancy service through a company. So there are ethical guidelines. There are something, a respect of ceiling on the non-audit fees. A lot of things are there. Okay. plus the statutory requirements of section 144. Let's say you are a statutory auditor in your individual or in partnership capacity. Section 144 will still be applicable. You cannot provide other services to a company where you are a statutory auditor. So 144 will still be applicable. It's not something that, okay, the guidelines allows me to practice in a corporate form, so now I can provide services to a company from a company, like it's a separate company. I am the auditor, I am separate. I am the managing director in the company. That's a secondary thing. So that is not allowed. That kind of arrangement is still not allowed and prohibited by section 144. Okay, let's say for example, if there is no section 144, if there is a non-corporate entity, you are the auditor of a non-corporate entity. Over there also the guidelines, these guidelines specifically say you should not accept any other assignment of either management consultancy service, or if you are providing management consultancy service, you should not accept the assignment of the auditor, because over there are threats to the fundamental principle. Okay, so you need to consider all these things before you go and provide the service in a corporate form. Clear? Any doubt with respect to understanding of corporate form of guidelines? So a lot of students get confused, sir. Like somewhere we read it's a prohibition, somewhere we read okay, managing CA in practice cannot be a managing director, where now we are reading this. So what is, they get confused between all these things, but all are separate. You are not allowed to be a managing director, whole-time director. You should not be receiving salary from any company if you are a CA in practice. An exclusion is given specifically for the corporate form of practice, only limited to the management consultancy service exclusively, like if you're providing management consultancy service. Otherwise, still there is a prohibition that we discussed earlier. Now the question comes is that, can I do advertisement in the name of company? Can I do advertisement of this company? Yes, no?
No, sir. Advertisement is not allowed, sir, right? For the when CA is there. But you are talking about this is a company. Why not issue the advertisement? I know your intention, but
can we do advertisement? Like I gave newspaper advertisement that I started management consultancy service. So let's say I do not give my name in that. I'm just saying that the company provide these kind of services in newspaper, front page, big letters. Nowhere the CA in practice is mentioned. Nowhere my name is mentioned. Only the name of company. Can I do that?
Sir, from class 7 perspective, no, sir. I don't know what about this council recommendation.
So this company has to comply with clause 6 and 7 requirements. Very important. Although it's a company, you have to count it as a CA in practice only. Okay, and then this management consultancy company has to comply with the clause 6 and 7 of part 1 and other directives as may be issued by the institute. So if you are taking advertisement, make sure you comply with 6 and 7. If something is not permitted by 6 and 7, it is not permitted for the company also. If something is not permitted under advertisement for a CA in practice, it is not permitted for the management consultancy company also. Clear? Any doubt?
Right, sir. Very much clear, sir.
Okay. Now, I will take up next area, that is the advertisement guideline itself. Now, what are these advertisement guidelines? So we have discussed in, clause 6 and 7. So the advertisements are required to be like, there are certain things where you can do advertisement. But over there also, like we have discussed multiple times, our intent should not be to secure the work or to solicit the clients or to, advertise our professional attainments. For that, council has already issued the guidelines to advertise. Okay, which are there on your page 19.128. Okay, these are the council guidelines for the advertisement. Now over here, there are these guidelines specify in sections, like what is required to be done when you are doing a write-up, what is required to be done when you are doing other type of advertisement. For example, let's say aggregator platforms. Okay, what if you are creating a website of a CA firm? So a lot of things are there that you need to take care, and they are specified in these guidelines. We'll go through these. Okay, so first we'll talk about write-up. Okay, if you are presenting the write-up means any article, anything that you are providing, that okay, this is a write-up that you are trying to provide. Over there, you need to make sure, like wherever it is permissible to advertise or to provide some content, you have to make sure the content of the write-up are true and best. Okay, it should not be any false information. Otherwise, you have a clause for the false information. Yes or no? We have a clause for the false information.
Yes, sir. Schedule 2 also there, Schedule 1 also there. In part 3 and Schedule 2 is class 3, and there in the second class is there, sir. Same class.
So when we discussed in the first schedule, remember in part 3?
Yes, sir.
We discussed that if, let's say for example, over there, we discussed that if you while inviting professional work from other chartered accountant or while responding to tenders or while advertising through a write-up which is permissible by 6 and 7, if you give a false information, then you will be deemed to be held guilty of professional misconduct. So if you do not provide true or best information, clause 3 is there already. Clause 3, part 3, first schedule. Okay. You have to be honest and truthful. No exaggerated claims should be there. No disparaging references. We already discussed these points already. You should not bring disrepute to the profession. Again, we have discussed this point. Okay. Should not contain testimonials or endorsements. That it should not be that, okay, you are providing a testimonial of a company, that is a kind of a review. It should not be the reviews provided by your clients. Okay. Should not contain any information about achievements, same as professional attainments of the part 7. Monogram or any kind of catchy words is not permissible. Okay.
Sir, I have one question. At the time of marriage, when that we are searching for groom or bridegroom, that time can we give the advertisement?
Now again, as I said, like see, for the marriage purpose, I think it is like what you are specifying in that advertisement makes very big difference. Like what you are saying, like if you are writing something only like CA required something, that it's fine. But if you are mentioning firm or a lot of things, then it is not. So what is the purpose of that advertisement? What contents are there? Then that is something is to be taken care of. Then membership FRN number should be mentioned. Font size should not be exceeding 14. Okay. Again, there are other code of ethics, other regulations. You should not violate that. Plus, if you are doing advertisement through write-up, okay, like in the institute journal or something like that, where it is allowed. So these are the details which you can mention for the member, for the website. All these details are there which you can mention. Okay, if it is done through the write-up, where it is allowed. Now, with respect to the website, if a CA firm has a website, okay, what are the things they are required to have on their website and what are not? So, first of all, with respect to their website, with respect to the website of a CA, remember one thing: this website should be like not a very catchy website, not a very website which is kind of using words which are not permissible in the rights also. It should be a pure simple website. Okay, standard format should be there, and it should be on the kind of pull mode, not a push mode. Now, what is a push mode? A lot of applications on your mobile or on a website send you a notification. For example, you installed an application on a mobile, you keep getting a notification till that time you close that particular notification for that application. That is a push mode. That is, application is pushing a notification to you every time something new comes. No, that should not be there. It should be a pull mode. That is, you get a notification when you want a notification. Okay, that is a pull or push mode. So it has to run on a pull mode, not on a push mode of technology. Okay, then you have to make sure that your website should not be doing any advertisement kind of thing, or it is not should be there to solicit people. And you should not issue any circular kind of thing that, okay, come to my website, and then website is redirecting kind of to the services you provide. No, it should not be there. And there are details which are you can mention or you can display on your website. These are the allowed details which you can mention on your website. Apart from that, you are not required to mention other details. Okay, apart from that, you are not required to mention any other details on your website. Okay, so passport size photo, a lot of things are there. But again, remember one important thing, that it should not be in the nature of advertisement. Okay, and plus it should not happen that you are displaying professional attainments. If you are displaying the clients you enter, for example, if you go on my website, let's say hypothetical example, go my website, it is that I cater XYZ listed company, I have 10 different listed companies and their names are mentioned. No, name of the clients, professional attainments, something which is not permissible, it should not be there on the website. Okay, so you need to understand what is mentioned on what is permissible and what you can mention on the website. It should not be in the form of advertisement. Plus references, like we saw disparaging references or anything catchy words should also not be there on the website. Plus, you are not allowed to run advertisement of other websites on your website also. Okay, so these kind of things you need to take care when there is a website. The next area that is there with respect to advertisement is the online third-party platforms, aggregators. So there are aggregators in the market where you can get registered, like you provide a CA service. Okay, you provide taxation service, you provide these kind of services. Yes or no? There are some aggregators in the market where you can get registered yourself. Okay. Now, in that particular case, what is allowed, what is not allowed? So basically, if there is an online third-party platform, okay, if there is an online third-party platform over there, like you can specify certain things. There are other things which you cannot specify. What are the things you can specify is that you can specify the CA firms that provide the consultation or advice through their website. But apart from that, you should not be mentioning, you should not be specifying other services. Okay. Plus, there are things that you can mention on these websites. Okay. For example, again, you should not be making a references like best CA firm, top 10 CA firms, top 10 firms in this particular city. No, these kind of things are not permitted even on the aggregators. Okay. So you should avoid getting listed on these. But if you are getting, then you need to make sure the things that is there on these particular listings should not be creating a kind of advertisement. Clear? Any doubt? So can you render audit service through these online third-party platforms? Answer is no. Can you render taxation or attestation functions, assurance services through websites? These websites or online third-party platforms? Answer is no. Only and only consultation and advice can be provided. Beside consultation and advice, no other service can be rendered from these websites. Okay. Plus, also, you are not required to mention the term charter accountants in your name of the firm. So there are a lot many restrictions over there. Plus, there are application-based aggregators for the where there are other categories like businessmen, technicians. A lot of things are there. For example, if there is an app where all the people are listed, technicians, worker, repair, furniture, AC, can we also get listed in there? Charter accountants? Answer is no. Where all the other people are there on the platform, where all the other are there, if you want to get yourself registered, that is not permissible. Okay. So let's say, for example, there is an app, XYZ app, which provides all kind of services. Aggregator is there. You book and you get after 1 day or two that person. You cannot get yourself registered as a chartered accountant in practice. Clear? Any doubt with respect to that? Any doubt?
Sir, can the chartered accountant provide the service for free of cost?
Free of cost. See, there is the so again, there are the recommended minimum scale of fees. Okay, that you have to charge. That is the recommended scale of fees that you have to charge. Now, when you say free of cost, in that case, again, there are issues. Reason because the fee usually we get is in proportionate to the work we are doing. If we are getting free of cost, it may happen that there could be a threat to the fundamental principles. Because you are not paid, it may happen that your quality of work may get impacted. So you need to we need to understand why free of cost. Why you want to go free of cost? What was the reason? Otherwise, it will be a threat to the fundamental principles and it will not be allowed. Any other doubts? Okay. Now there is a disclosure requirements. Again, this is not a restriction. This is not a restriction. This is a disclosure requirement on page 19.138. Fee of relative size. Again, that is a part of code of ethics. And this is a disclosure requirement, not a restriction. Understand that. Now, what this disclosure requirement is? Disclosure requirement is with respect to the fees. Okay. So you are required to disclose the fees you are charging. with respect to non-public interest entity and public interest entity. Again, I'm saying this is a disclosure requirements, not a restriction. A lot of students get confused. Okay, there is a restriction. We cannot accept a client where the fees is more. Answer is no. Only disclosure, no restriction. So you need to write this. Only disclosure, not restriction. So what is the disclosure requirement? So disclosure requirement is when you are doing, when you are basically, charging a fee from an audit client, which is a non-public interest entity. Okay, non-PI. Okay, if your gross annual professional fee, from an audit client is more than the 40% of the fee of the firm, more than the 40% of the fee of the firm, in that case, you need to see whether this is continuing for 2 years. If yes, disclosure is required. So where for the 2 consecutive years, audit fee, gross annual professional fee from audit client. Okay. Now, again, remember this particular term is when I'm talking about gross annual professional fee, I'm talking about professional fee. Sorry. I'm talking about professional fee. And I'm talking about audit client. So it will include audit fee plus other permissible engagement fees. Will include audit fee plus other permissible engagement fees. For example, as a statutory auditor, you are required to issue some certificates for the company. That will be counted over here in the gross annual professional fee from the audit client. And that is applicable that this gross annual professional fee. Okay. If fee exceeds 40% of the total fee of the firm, 40% of total fee, and that should happen for 2 years into 2 consecutive years, then the disclosure requirements get triggered. Then the disclosure requirements get triggered. In case of public interest entity, now this was a non-PI. Now in case of a PI, this limit turns to the 20%. Instead of 40, this becomes 20%. So gross annual professional fee from an audit client represents more than 20% of total fee of the firm for 2 consecutive years. In that case, you are required to disclose. Now, there is third condition is when the total fee that I'm talking about received by the firm, okay, where the total fees received by the firm does not exceed 20 lakh rupees. Total fees received by the firm does not exceed 20 lakh rupees. In that case, this disclosure is not required to be done. So you have an exemption. You can write exemption if total fees less than 20 lakh rupees. Simple.
Sir,
Clear?
there is one question. There is one as these are recommendatory guidelines, so how does their how does it impact if it is not followed? Because it is given that they are recommendatory guidelines.
This fee one?
Yes, these 10, all these 10, because these are recommendatory guidelines.
No, this fee one is not a recommendatory guideline.
10.5.1. So we are reading 10. So 10 recommended self-regulatory measures.
Okay, let me see. Now this 10.5.1, okay, is already there in your code of ethics, paragraph 410.3 and 410.6. If you go to your paragraph 430, sorry, section 410 in your code of ethics, you will come to know about these particular guidelines. So this particular part is coming from code of ethics. If I show you, just give me a minute. If I have the code of ethics open, just let me show you.
Then, sorry, if it is not followed, then that schedule 2, part 2, class 1 will be applicable. Contraventions to, yeah.
No, it
In
will
that
not
case,
be applicable because the line written here is the council expects that each and every will implement them. These regulatory measures are recommendatory in nature.
wait, this recommended minimum scale of fees. See, although it is given in this, but this particular part which I'm talking about is coming from the code of ethics. There is a paragraph 410.3 and R 410.6 which prescribe these requirements. So, although it is coming under that head, it is mandatory because I will write it here for your reference. It is coming from code of ethics. Okay, you can go for para 410.3 and requirement 410.6 of code of ethics. So also this was amended in October 2022. So there has been amendment with this in October 2022. Let me show you even the code of ethics itself directly. Give me a minute. Just a minute. So these are the amendments from the code of ethics. Okay. So fees relative side para 410.3 are 410.6 for non-PI 2 consecutive years 40, for PI 2 consecutive years 20. Not applicable when it is 20 lakhs. So this is something coming from the code of ethics only. This is a revised provision which has been there from 1st October 2022. Let me see if I have the old provision in the code of ethics. Let me show you that also. Give me a minute. Oh, just give me a minute. Let me check if I have the old provisions. So I'll show you that also. See, this is the code of ethics.
That is what I was thus confused about that only, because it is written in the study mat, so I asked nothing.
Yeah. No. I can understand. Yeah, but actually there is a whole section in the code of ethics, which basically talks about fees. Now this is the section 410 fees, where you have this requirement fees, relative fees one. Now this has been revised in October 2022. So as of now, if you'll open the 2019 edition of Code of Ethics, you will see the old numbers like 15, which has been changed now. So it's there, but it has been changed now, but it's coming from the Code of Ethics. So it is kind of mandatory, I would say.
Yes, sir. As per the study material, it's what Pitambar saying is correct. The thing is that I have gone through the day before yesterday. It was available in the Code of Ethics. I'm also searching where it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is based on the new amendment. So there is old 410 per para, which is there, still there. Now the new amendment is there, and based on that, the new revised guidelines are there. These one. Okay. Any further doubt? Any doubt?
No, sir.
Okay. So this particular part, like this was the last thing that I wanted to take up. For the rest of the things, what I want you to do is go and read, because whatever we discussed, it has covered everything, majority of the things. Your reading is now required in addition to what we discussed. We have solved questions, we have gone through majority of the requirements. Now your reading and your practice is something required in this chapter, because once you will have the reading of each and every point, each and every paragraph, each and every area, you will come to know that okay, how what we discussed and how it is linked to that. Okay, so I would recommend go and read each and every the whole chapter. If you are not read, practice as many questions you can. Plus you have a lot of questions at the end of study material. Okay, so I took up other questions, but there are already a lot of questions at the end of study material. Let me go through that particular part. These are the schedules to X that we have already discussed. Okay.
There are 35 questions are there, sir, in
Yes,
totality.
correct. So you have a test to test your knowledge part. Very good questions are there. Okay, plus new questions also being added, like the bold one are the new one which are added, and they are important also. Solve these questions. Write your own answers. And once you write your own answers, then compares the answer what is given over here. By this way, at least you have 35 questions to practice. I want you guys to practice each and every question over here. Write your own answers. Don't just go, okay, this is the question, I feel this is the answer. Okay, let me check what is the answer. Yes, what I felt, the answer is matching with that. This will not do anything. Trust me. Go write the answer. Take it up like at least daily 2 questions. Okay, from audit this chapter, and I'm sure that within 35 questions, within 15 days, they will be done almost. Okay, if you take up daily 2 questions. So by this way, you will have a very, very good writing practice also. Plus the notes which we have prepared during the session, please also prepare for yourself. That will be really helpful a day before exam when you are revising the all the things. Okay. Any doubt again? Any doubt? No doubts? Okay. Yes, these notes will be available. Not an issue. But I would recommend you to prepare your own notes so that you can understand what you have written. But these will be available. Okay. If no further doubt, guys, then I would recommend like please provide your feedback. That is really important for us. Okay, to understand whether you are liking the lectures or not, and bring up your doubts in the next session also. Be ready with the next session. Read in advance. It will give you a good clarity of the topic. Okay. So thank you guys. Thank you for participating in today's session. Thank you. I will see you in the next.
Okay, thank you, sir. What is the next session, sir?
I think it is starting from the rest of the chapter. Let me go through it. Just give me a minute. let me tell you the next section details. So the next session is, today is 6th. Okay, 6th is there. Then you have 11th August, Monday, chapter 1, quality control.
Okay, SQC1. Okay, sir. Fine.
Not only XQC1, SA 220 also.
Right, sir. We'll go through that. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll see you in the next session on 11th August, Monday, with chapter number 1, quality control. Be ready, read it, and then you please ask your doubts if you have any with respect to this chapter or with respect to that also. Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for participating.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night.